In fact, I will speak about the ethics and moral values in the development of production of new biofuels. In fact, this is maybe a part of a work about, on behalf of the Biology and Physics Research Group in Al-Qura University, which I am one of this team. Why we need ethics? Because a small leak will sink a great ship. What's morality? What do we mean when we say think or action is good or bad? What's the meaning of moral terms? Also, what's the nature of the moral judgment? How many moral judgments be supplied or defended? How can we know whether or when an action is right or wrong? Can ethical language have any meaning? This may be part of the questions which we will answer in this presentation. Ethics and biofuels. Ethical issues are considered as selection rules to control the production of biofuels, which is in strong connection with environment, safety, and security with the human being on Earth. As scientific development may carry some risks under its wings, the triangle of ethics, safety, and security will make us sure that any development of any new biofuel is safe by itself for humans and the environment, which means it will not be hazardous material as nuclear, radiological, chemical, or biological agents. I will not be used in the future as a tool for destruction in the hands of the evil people. Regulations and regulatory bodies are responsible for safety and security measures, while scientists are responsible for the ethical and moral values of the material in their hands. Are scientists morally responsible for their for how their work is used? Even if scientists are not held responsible for the use of their work, those uses are still relevant to the rightness or wrongness of their work. The outline of this presentation, we speak about some terminology and then speak the risks arising from the scientific research, and then speak about ethics, safety, and security, then ethics versus other selection rules, biosecurity, biosafety, and concerns, bioethics, and ethics, and the new biofuels. What we mean by values: qualities that signify what is important and worthwhile. Values serve as the basis for moral codes and ethical reflections. Each of you has your own values based on family, religion, peers, culture, race, social background, gender, etc. Example: life is to be valued. In other words, life is sacred. Morals are codes of conducts governing the behavior, which I mean a question. They are an expression of values. The morals are an expression of values reflected in actions and practices. I think it's some type of hardware and software, the relation between morals and values. What you do or don't do based on your values. Morals can be held at an individual or community level and are culturally bound. Example: based on values, one should not kill. Ethics provides a systematic, rational way to work through dilemmas and to determine the best course of action in the face of conflicting choices. Ethics attempt to find and describe what people believe is right and wrong, and to establish whether certain actions are actually right or wrong based on all the information available. Example: if killing is wrong, can one justify the death penalty or kill in self-defense? The raising risks from scientific research. In fact, corona pandemic has sparked a lot of discussions about global health security and how to strengthen it. The risk posed by accident and the potential for intentional misuse of biology research, a revolution in the life sciences with extremely rapid development. Also, concerns about the misuse of new technologies or what is known as the dual use, which is a big and important issue in scientific research. Continuing scientific and technical capabilities to modify basic life processes in their rapid progress, and the boundary between chemistry and biology, and thus distinction between some chemical and biological weapons, is becoming increasingly blurred. Scientific research examples about the rising risks from scientific research. In fact, the first thing, the nuclear weapons is the most example about this issue. The new knowledge gained can be used for the beneficial purposes of mankind, and it can also be used for evil purposes. The atomic bomb dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed hundreds of thousands. Numerous resources were devoted to the production of nuclear weapons, and humanity lived under the threat of nuclear holocaust for decades. Now that things change from physics to biology, the life science nowadays resemble physics when major discoveries of nuclear fission were made. The same biological discoveries that are supposed to be dedicated for benefits or benefiting humanity can be used to harm humanity and can be disastrous. This is the key stage of the history of biology and a critical time for ethical decisions making and policy making in the life sciences. Now, ethics and security. The starting point. Ethics and security are seen as complex and underfunded and a barrier to research. This is what scientists see or believe. Ethics and security promote scientific research that works for the benefit of society and the humans, and identify needs and capabilities in these two areas and ways to enhance them. The general approach to life sciences research depends on three pillars, which are the excellence in scientific research, ethics, security, which is biosecurity and biosafety of the laboratories. Each of these pillars are equal of importance and should be enhanced in the same way. The governance levels. The phenomenon of dual use requires ethical decisions by different actors at different levels of the science governance hierarchy. Individual scientists have to decide what research to conduct and or to publish. Research institutions must decide how to organize potentially dangerous research within their borders, how to educate its researchers regarding dual use and or ethics, what laboratory security measures should be put in place, etc. Research institutions are already undertaking this work, and many related measures to varying degrees, such as biosafety required by law. Ethical limits to promote things or prevent. Responsible authorities wish to take actions that promote the development and use of science for useful purposes. You will, on the other hand, want to take measures, or that will prevent the harmful use of science, which may sometimes require avoiding the production and or dissemination of potentially dangerous information, or may be used as dangerous tools. Ethical dilemmas and the need to balance. Whatever the procedure carried out, however, difficult to balance between the two cases of at the same time. One of the implications of the phenomenon of dual use is that the same research may be both beneficial and harm. Also, the government, if they facilitate the scientific progress, they can be unable to have benefits, but also may lead to particular dangerous research being conducted. If they make restrictions, this will prevent the protection and dissemination of dangerous information, but it may be also stifle uses useful scientific or يعني what means to restrict useful scientific progress at the same time. The dual use of scientific research, the research laboratory has become the center of obtaining knowledge and developing new materials for use in the future, as well for observation and control of these materials that are used in thousands of business processes, many industries, many research, many medical applications, environmental, military use, etc. Despite the great benefit that mankind derives from these materials, many of them may cause harm to human health as well as to the environment if not used properly. This damage encourages some individuals and gangs to try to use it for harming purposes. The dual use of scientific research, the security culture concerned with the potential, maybe the title is not correct. The security culture concerned the prevention of CBRN has become a buzzword in addition to becoming an increasing force of attracting among decision makers, practitioners, and academics who have to contribute to it due to the realization that the urgent need to address the security challenge posed by these materials. What we mean by biosecurity? It means to prevent acts of theft, maybe an access interfere, illegal transportation, or other malicious acts related to biological materials or associated facilities, and detecting and responding to such acts and addressing their consequences if they occur. Biosecurity includes physical protection, which means the tools, buildings, any doors, locks used to secure these materials. What are the goals of biosecurity? Achieving and maintaining a high level of security of biological materials, reducing the possibility of unjustified exposure to biological materials, also mitigating and minimizing the health and environmental consequences of any hostile act involving biological agents. An important issue, which is the biosecurity culture, which is the set of beliefs, attitudes, and behavior patterns of individuals and organizations that can support, supplement, or enhance operating procedures, rules, and practices, as well as professional standards and ethics designed to protect biological materials and achieve the goals of preventing the spread of such materials and their criminal uses. To create an effective security culture, we depend on two pillars, which are any person working in any dangerous materials, mainly biological material or biological research, should believe that the threats are real and the security is important. The second point is the biosafety, which means by definition, achieving appropriate operating conditions, preventing accidents or mitigating the effects of accidents, which lead to protection of workers, the public, and the environment from unjustified risks. Objectives to protect humans and environment from harmful effects of the circulation of biological materials. We see that safety and security working to protect human and environment, each in its own way and procedure. Biosafety culture means the totality of the characteristics and attitudes of organization and individuals that determine as a top priority that protection and safety issues receive attention that is justified by their importance. Bioethics is a subfield of ethics applied to the life sciences. The discipline of bioethics help us as a society make decisions about how best to use scientific knowledge, how to make policy decisions regarding medicine or treatments, and how we should behave with each other. A principle of bioethics, respect for autonomy, which means we should respect every person, every party working with and on the earth. The second is the beneficence, which means the benefits should be more effective than the harm. Or the third is the safety and security of the humans, and which means that any action or any scientific research should be done without making any harm to the people or to the environment. As well, if there's some, we try to make it as minimum as we can. And the third is the justice. The fourth, sorry. Now, ethics as a selection rule involve the words ought or should, implying a difficult decision must be made. There are several alternative solutions, none that is without some challenging the problematic aspects. They contain conflicting moral choices and dilemmas, and the underlying values of the people may clash. They have no right or wrong answer which satisfies all parties, but better or worse answers based on well-reasoned justification, which is the way of our thinking as humans. Modules of the selection rules in ethics. First one is fairness. How can I act equitably and balance legitimate interests, outcomes, what achieves the best short and long-term outcomes for me and all others, responsibilities, what duties and obligations apply, character, what action best reflects how I am and the person I want to become, liberty, how does respect for freedom, personal autonomy and consent apply, empathy, what would I do if I care deeply about those involved with me in the work or in the experiment, authority, what do legitimate authorities expect, law, my religion, God, all of these. Ethics versus other selection rules, which meaning the relation between ethics and the laws and the legal framework. Also, the relation with science and scientific method. Also, the relation to religious and cultural behavior or beliefs in the country or in the world. Also, the relation with the personal performance. How to approach ethics or the ethical approach. What kind of knowledge should be sought and dismantled? The authors primarily concerned is deliberate misuse of knowledge, greater roles for ethicists, dual use dilemma. The field needs principles by which to determine that knowledge is too dangerous to pursue and disseminate. Test for risk, precautionary principle, cost-benefit analysis, which are the main ideas which we have discussed formally. Ethics and new biofuels. Biofuels are promoted as one of the few options to replace liquid fossil fuel that offer a reduction in greenhouse gas emission. But there are serious concerns about negative effects on food security and the environment. Thus, it's very important for biofuel development and production to meet regulatory and ethical conditions that control this type of field. Through the development and production of biofuel, two ethical considerations arise: food and nature, the environment. The ethical rules regarding food security are obvious, even if their application is not. The ethical imperative here is to improve fundamental food security for all. Rules are not so clear in the natural issue due to many factors related to preservation and sustainable development, as well as the technical improvements in agriculture. The ethical framework for biofuels, the first one, we should respect human rights. Then a commitment to solidarity with vulnerable populations, poor countries, poor people, poor gathering of populations, and the common good of mitigating climate change, and the nations of stewardship of the natural world, sustainability, and the generational justice. The values have increasingly been recognized in debate around global justice, environment, climate change, and energy ethics. The ethical principles here, we are speaking about protecting the human rights. Biofuel development should not be at the expense of people's essential rights, including access to sufficient food and water, health rights, work rights, and land entitlements. Then the second one is the environmental sustainability. Biofuels should be environmentally sustainable, mitigating climate change, which means biofuels should be contribute to a net reduction to the total carbon emission and not to make extra change in the climate global climate change. Fair trade and just reward. Biofuels should be developed in accordance with the trade principles that are fair and recognize the rights of people to just reward, including labor rights and intellectual property rights. Equitable distribution of cost and benefits. The costs and benefits of biofuels should be distributed in an equitable way. The ethical landscape. Identify the right way to think about ethical and societal aspects of synthetic biology research and products. The bioethics template is adequate for synthetic biology, which should be, all of us should admit this. Failure of ethical review, despite of many efforts all over the world, all over the universities and medical institutions, ethical review is not a complete good framework. Public concern, various serious ethical concerns, also is impartial ethical advice attainable. Principle versus applications. The bioethics review is also a poor model for several kinds of review of synthetic biology because of the assumption of the centrality of universal ethical principles is even less applicable to those startling areas of biological innovation than to the case of novel medical interventions. In fact, this is not my word, but I like it, and it represents me. Well-established element of safety and security in scientific research. What we need to have this well-established elements of safety and security, we need a leadership and management of security and safety, teaching safety and security, behaviors, awareness, and appreciation of security and safety, learning from accidents, joint cooperation promote building solid structure of security and safety, or cultures of them, enhance security and safety and communication, funding to encourage institutional support for security and safety. To establish this solid culture of ethics, security, and safety in scientific research, we should promote a culture of scientific integrity and excellence is one of the best safeguards against the possibility of accidents and willful misuse of life science research and providing the best opportunities for scientific advancement and development. This is done by enhancing capabilities in the following three components, which we have mentioned earlier: the excellence in scientific research, ethics and safety and security, adoption of risk management framework for responsible life science research. What we need: promoting culture of scientific research, ethics, culture of biosecurity and biosafety. Invest in training researchers and students in ethics, responsible conduct of research, biosafety and biosecurity. Ensure compliance with safety and biosecurity, establishing an ethical framework for scientific research and following up on its implementation by the institution's leadership, create a hierarchy chart to determine the responsibility of security and safety and ethics as well, and develop a security and safety policy that includes defining responsibilities by job and performance plans for the employees. In addition to adopting ethics, security, and safety as a personal belief, which is the most important. Also, establishing a well-established and effective management system for safety and security ensure that all researchers, faculty, staff, and students have solid skills in the field of safety and security, building and maintaining an accident reporting system. Now, it's necessary to establish this type of culture. Security and safety risk pose a threat to individuals and societies, both nationally and internationally. The potential misuse of biological and hazardous materials by internal or external adversaries is real. Biosecurity is important for managing biological risks. The triangle: science, ethics, and security. Ethics' main objective is harm reduction. Security should be part of ethics. Security considerations should be essential component of good science. To ensure the security considerations are included in research and education, we should have education and training and supervision. Lastly, advice. A wise man never needs a weapon. Thank you for attention. This is my account, ORCID, Google Scholar, Scopus, ResearchGate, and LinkedIn, and emails. Thank you for your attention.